Hi, welcome to today's upper body massage tutorial. So we're going to look at loosening up through the arms, the hands, shoulders, neck, head. Really nice session for you today. I know a lot of you have been looking forward to these coming out, so thank you for your patience. You're not going to need anything other than yourselves today, so finding yourself into some kind of comfortable position. I'm sitting on a cushion, you might want to do the same. And it's not something that you're going to need any oil or cream for. If you have it and you want to use it, by all means, but I'll be demonstrating without, so that if you haven't got that, you don't need to worry about it. So let's begin today's session by drawing inwards a little bit, maybe allowing the eyes to close if that feels comfortable. And taking a moment at the beginning of your self-massage session to notice what's going on in your body. Is there places that are maybe feeling tense? How's your breath feeling today? Maybe taking note of what's going on with your breathing for possibly the first time today. And no need for it to be any particular way, just allowing yourself to observe what's going on as you inhale and exhale. And noticing how the upper body moves in response to your breaths. If there are places of tightness in your upper body, how do those feel at the moment? Are they affecting the breath? Are they affecting movement in the body? Are they affecting how you're holding your body? Taking a couple more breaths in this very, very beginning part of your self-massage session. And then slowly allowing your eyes to gently open. And we'll begin by doing just some couple of movements just to begin to loosen up maybe some of those tight areas. So taking some circles through the wrists, a few times one way, a few times the other way. And you can keep your eyes closed at this point if you want, if that feels better, really feeling into it. And then maybe moving into some shoulder shrugs, inhaling, lifting the shoulders up, exhaling down and back. And maybe you want to turn that into full arm circles, lifting the arms up and then exhaling back. So this beginning bit can really be whatever feels good, whatever your body needs. You can spend a bit longer on one bit, a little bit less on another if you like. And maybe you want to change the directions with your shrugs or your shoulder circles, that's up to you. So this movement can be a really important part of any massage session, allowing the body to begin to move and open up, get unstuck. And then maybe taking some gentle movements with the neck. So as you exhale, allowing that right ear to come towards the right shoulder. And maybe you want to open and close your jaw here. So opening and closing the jaw will help release the neck, the shoulder, and also helps to release in the lower body and the pelvis as well. And then as if you're drawing a semicircle with your chin, slowly beginning to allow the head to come forward. And stopping at any point where you feel that you need that little bit of extra stretch. Working your way around slowly to the left. Noticing the differences from one side to another. And perhaps you want to take that open and close with the jaw on this side as well. Really gently allowing your head to come back to center when you're ready. So that's kind of a little bit of feeling into your range of movement, and maybe you're more aware now of the areas of tightness that are going on in your body. So this is a great way to start and finish any day. If you imagine that your muscle fibers are kind of almost like a woolly jumper or a woolly sweater that's got these nice fibers that move and flow. And what happens is that we can end up with everything getting a bit stuck. So whether that's repetitive movement or things like working at a desk, there are many different reasons why these fibers can get stuck. So it's almost as if you've poured kind of a super glue over the fibers of your sweatshirt. And that means that actually they can't have this fluid movement. So taking a few of these nice stretches and opening movements at the beginning and at the end of the day just encourages the body to be able to loosen up anything that's a bit stuck and provide you with a little bit more range of movement. And that's a great way to start any kind of self-massage as well, just so that you become aware of what's going on in your body and the places that maybe you're experiencing that tension the most. So let's move on to starting to open up the body with some self-massage. So beginning with the hands, let's start with the left hand. So bring in your right hand, your thumb and your index finger, and putting it into this nice kind of meaty bit in between the thumb and the index finger on the other side. So you've got this kind of nice meaty bit of muscle. And feeling around in there, you might notice if you do a lot of work with your hands, so if you're either typing at a desk a lot or if you do a lot of things like gardening, that as you press and you kind of move around in there, that there's quite a bit of tightness. So it's up to you how hard you press. You can do little circles, you can kind of press and hold. And you can go right in the middle of that meaty section, but you can also work right up to the edges. You can go right along the edge of the base of the thumb there, and also up along that bit just below the index finger. So having a little feel around in there. And then you may want to stay here, or you might want to turn your hand over and begin to open up and spread out the palms. So you can use your thumb to do this. So maybe you want to work along the base of the four fingers and then down. And go all the way to the bottom of the thumb. So working right across the whole of the palm. You can either go side to side, you can go from top to bottom or bottom to top. And again, pausing anywhere and spending extra time if you're noticing, actually that feels really tight in there and I didn't even know about it. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes we don't know that the areas are super tight. And if there's anything else going on in the hands for you that is sore, so maybe if you've got soreness on a finger or around a joint, then you can spend a little bit of time there as well. So you can say you had a little bit of tightness in a joint, you can just do a little bit of that circling and that movement to loosen off. So spending another minute or so on this hand in whatever place feels good for you. And of course you can go up to the top side of the hand as well if you want. But I'd say that the palm tends to be the place that holds the most tension for a lot of us. Paying particular attention to the base of the thumb, so you may want to do a little bit of that on the top. That can be quite tight. And also the base of the thumb on the palm side as well. Of course, you can pause this video at any point, so if you're feeling like you need a little bit longer somewhere, just give this a pause and then come back when you're ready. So let's move on to the other hand, so same kind of idea. So I tend to use my thumb and my index finger just for this particular work on the hand, but if you want to use something else, then you're welcome to. So starting off by getting into that really nice kind of meaty bit in between the thumb and the index finger on the right hand. So I've got my thumb on the top and my fingers underneath. And having a little notice here, if you know that your hands are quite tight, is one hand tighter than the other, it'll probably be the hand that you use the most. So if you're right-handed, you'll probably find your right hand is a lot tighter. And again, you can do circles, you can kind of do little back and forth movements, you can press and hold and stay there for a little while. And really seeing if you can get into all of the areas that might be tight around there. And then maybe you want to turn your hand over and start getting into the palm. So like we did on the other side, using your thumb across the palm to open it up. And you can go in any direction that feels good here, using any pressure that feels good. And once you're at the base of the thumb, you might find that it feels good to open up the thumb as you press down. So that can kind of give a little mini stretch if you want to do something like that. So paying attention to anywhere that feels tight, if you want to get into the fingers, if you've got any joints in the fingers that are feeling tight, feel free to do so. If you want to get into the base of the thumb, if you know that's a place where you get a lot of tightness, you can get into the base of the thumb either from the top or the bottom. And you can take some nice little circles. And really trust yourself here to go with what feels right for your body. If you're doing something and it feels good, it's probably what your body needs. So our bodies intuitively kind of know how to massage themselves, which is really cool. All right, so hopefully those hands are feeling a little bit more open, a little bit more loose. There might have been some uncomfortable places there. Hands can get really, really tight. Let's move up into the wrists and the forearms. So a really nice technique to use on the forearms is something called soft tissue release. And I'll show you how you do it. So you're going to press in using your right hand. So we're going to go back to the left arm again. You're going to press in on the top of the forearm, so on the top of the, almost like down by the wrist. And press in with the thumb, and then draw your thumb up slightly towards the elbow. So it's almost as if you're kind of like pressing in and then drawing the tissue underneath it, just slightly up. So it's quite a subtle movement. And as you do that, you're going to bring your hand down towards the ground. And you'll notice as you do that, you get a little stretch. And then you can release the hand and press in at a different point, and then bring the hand down. So this does little kind of micro stretches, and it's a technique we're going to use quite a lot today because it's one of the few massage techniques that you can do yourself that's really, really effective. So you can actually use this all the way up the forearm. So you might want to kind of slowly creep up, and you press in, draw the tissue up towards the elbow, and then the bending at the wrist, and the hand moves down. And that gives you that nice little stretch. So you can go back to any areas, or you can hold any areas that are feeling particularly tight. So I know in there feels really tight for me. I'm going to stay there for a second. Or you can just continue moving up. So this is something that works. It's kind of an instant release. And once you know where there are tight areas, you can then obviously go back and either using sort of 3 fingers as the fingertips, use a bit of friction there. You can use your thumb. So you can do circles, you can do back and forth, and you can press and hold. So the STR soft tissue release technique is a great way to kind of locate areas of tension, and it gives that little mini stretch, that opening to the fibers that we were talking about. So having a little go up your forearm like that, and then once you've had a little go there, you can turn over and come onto the other side, so you can work up the inside of the forearm, same kind of idea. So now your palm's facing up, and you're pressing in, up towards the elbow, and then you're moving the hand down. So same kind of idea as you did before. And you may find that, you know, one side of your forearm's a lot tighter than the other. And again, you're probably going to find that one arm's tighter than the other as well. So this is just really great if you tend to use your arms, your hands a lot. So it's something that I used to do a lot for myself, you know, when I was doing massage work. And it's something I still do with massage right now, is to kind of come home and just do these little bits of stretching, little bits of opening. It really makes a difference. So particularly if you're someone who gets sore hands, wrists, arms, you know, if you've had carpal tunnel syndrome, you know, these are really great things to do. So having a little go there, pausing at any time, and then we'll move on to the other side. So it's the same kind of idea. So you're going to be using your thumbs, your palm facing down to start with. We're working up the top of the forearm. And then you're starting by the wrist, pressing in, drawing the tissue up towards the elbow, and then the hand comes down to create that stretch in the fibers. So this is one of my favourite things to do for myself in self-massage, but I also use it a lot with clients in massage, as you'll know if you've ever come to see me. It's a really, really effective way of releasing tension. And the nice thing is that even though it can be uncomfortable for a moment, it doesn't last for long. And obviously with self-massage, you're completely in control of the level of pressure you put in and how uncomfortable you want it to be. So, you know, go as deep as feels good. And then again, if you find a place that's particularly tight, you can then stay there and either have a little rub using your thumb, using your fingertips. You can sort of press and hold. And if you are sitting cross-legged, just like I've done, you know, remember to kind of change the cross of your legs from time to time. We have a way that we kind of naturally sit, especially if you're cross-legged. We tend to always put one leg on the top and a different one on the bottom. So try and swap that up if you can, just to give the body a little bit of balance. And then coming on to the other side, so coming on to the inside of that forearm, and it's the same kind of idea, pressing in up towards the elbow and then opening the palm down towards the ground, getting that stretch. So maybe this is something that you've experienced before. If you've been for a massage and they've used this technique, maybe it's something completely new. And with all of these videos, if at any point you've got questions, just pop them in the comments below, and or send me a private message, an email, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So yeah, feel free to ask away. I'm always happy to answer questions, give tips, all of that kind of stuff. All right, so hopefully those forearms are feeling a little bit looser now. Let's move on to the upper arms. So sometimes with the upper arms, it can be nice to just use what in massage we call a little bit of effleurage. So it's this kind of picking up and dropping of the skin. That's easier when you've got oil, and if you have it, you might want to do that. Otherwise, you might just want to kind of take your hands either side of your upper arm and just give them a little kind of massage. So feeling into what's going on there and seeing if you can get into the front, the back, and the sides. So I'm sort of using little circles here. My thumb's on the inside, my fingers are on the outside, and you're pressing as hard as feels good. And pay particular attention around sort of things like the elbows. Get a real feel around anywhere where there are joints. Sometimes elbows can get really tight. So you may just want to have a little feel around there. So we won't spend too long on the upper arms, but I would say definitely paying attention around the elbow, and then when you get up towards the shoulder, paying attention towards all of the kind of areas that attach up near the shoulder. So The general thing with most muscles in the body is that the kind of the belly of the muscle, which is what it's called, that's the kind of like the main juicy bit. Even though that can get tight, it tends to not hold a huge amount of tension compared to where the tendons and the ligaments are, so when you're getting nearer to bone. So when we're getting sort of towards the end of the muscles, that's around where tendons are. That's where you tend to find you've got a bit more tension. They don't have very good blood supply, so any areas that get tight don't heal up as quickly. The belly of the muscle has great blood supply, so any areas of tension there tend to be resolved in a couple of days. So paying particular attention once you get up around the shoulders. And having a really good feel around right from the front to the back, seeing what's going on in there. And then you can swap onto the other side whenever you're ready. So it might be that maybe for you your arms are not super tight and this just feels really nice, which is great. So massage can also be used as a kind of a maintenance, a preventative. So even if you haven't got problems right now, you can sort of use it to prevent issues coming up in the future. So again, really working into all of the areas around the elbows and around where the muscles link in up towards the shoulder. And you might find that things feel a little gristly around the shoulder. You might find that everything feels a bit knotted. That's really normal. A lot of us get really tight shoulders, so if you're feeling that right now, then definitely allow yourself to get into those tight places. Okay, so once you've done a little bit of work on the upper arms, we're then going to come in to work sort of towards the front of the shoulder joint and underneath the collarbone. So you'll have a little feel, it's about level with the collarbone. You can feel the front of the shoulder joint. You may have a little bit of tightness in there, quite a lot of us do, so you might want to have a little loosen up in there. And then work your way slowly so that you can work your way underneath the collarbone. So you're working your way from the outside of the shoulder. So you never want to massage bone. So if you're on bone, definitely move above, below, or to the side. That won't be comfortable. And then once you get to the collarbone, then you can begin to take some little circles underneath the collarbone, starting from the outside and working all the way in. You might be surprised how tender it feels in here, how much tightness there is. And this is because for most of us, we don't spend the day with our shoulders back and down in perfect posture. Whether we're working at a desk or even doing something like bike riding, shoulders tend to come in. And that means that this area gets short and tight and the area at the back gets long and overstretched, and both things cause discomfort. So having a really good work along that area under the collarbone. If you found a bit of tension under there, then we can also use that STR soft tissue release technique here as well. So you can press into anywhere that maybe felt a bit tight. So if you got to a certain place and you thought, oh, that feels a little bit uncomfortable, then press in, draw the tissue towards the center line of the body, and then move the shoulder back. So that's that little movement. You might want to move the shoulder forward to start with, press in, draw towards the centre line, and then the shoulder comes back. And you'll notice there's a very subtle kind of opening and stretching sensation. So you can take a few of those. And then coming on to the other side when you're ready. So starting from that outside underneath the shoulder, taking your little circles or your little kind of whatever feels good. It might be kind of friction back and forth movements, it's up to you. And then slowly working your way in so that you end up under the collarbone. So you might find that right on that very outside edge part by the sort of like the edge of the chest and the shoulder, that feels quite tight. That's a really common area to get quite tight. So spend as long as you need here. And again, it can be really tender, so it's up to you how hard you want to press in. If it doesn't feel good, then don't do it. So a lot of self-massage is really about exploring what's going on in your body. So it's quite similar to yoga in that way. When we explore what's going on, it's kind of an observation. So feeling into all of these different areas and noticing, actually, are there places that feel tight that I didn't know about? Often where we feel the pain isn't necessarily where the pain is coming from. So this can be a really valuable exercise in helping to relieve discomfort. Sometimes you'll discover things that you just didn't even know were there. And then again, you can take that STR if you want, that soft tissue release. So pressing in underneath the collarbone, again, not putting any pressure on any bones. That won't feel good. You don't want to massage bone, and there's no benefit to that. We're staying with soft tissues. So pressing in underneath the collarbone, anywhere where you found that tightness when you were working along there. And you can allow that shoulder to come forward slightly, and then pressing in, having a slight pull towards the midline of the body, and then opening the shoulder back and open. So you can do that with any points that feel tight. So you're probably getting an idea for how this technique works. Pressing in, moving away from where you're going to move, so that you press in and away that way and the movement goes the other way, and that's how you get your stretch. So this is quite easy to apply across many joints in the body, and it feels really, really good. Okay, so having a little shake out there. And just noticing, maybe it feels a little tender, but maybe there's a little bit more openness, a little bit more space. Maybe you can see that the shoulders have a bit more room to move backwards. So it's worth bearing in mind, if you get really tight shoulders at the back, almost impossible area to massage yourself, then massaging at the front will probably help. They work together, the body works as pairs, front and back. So if you can't reach the back of your body, start doing some work on the front. So we're going to continue with that STR technique, working along the top of the shoulder and into the neck. So coming back to the left-hand side, and that feeling of that pressing down and away and moving the body in the opposite direction. So let's start, before we do our STR, with that kind of exploring. So exploring and pressing in along the top of the shoulder. So this is probably where you will find some tension. It's very unusual to not have tightness around here. And again, you can press as deeply as you want. If you find a really tight place, you can either just kind of press and hold. That can be a really nice technique. You can press and hold for, say, 30 seconds. You'll notice that it will probably start to feel more comfortable as you hold it. Or you can kind of use this exploratory circles or frictioning with your fingers. And if it feels comfortable, you can allow that to go a little bit up into the kind of like the lower side of the neck as well. So just be really mindful of the neck. Again, you're staying completely with the side of the neck. You're not pressing on any vertebrae at the back. And you probably won't want to go, too high up, too deep anyway. So once you have a little feel around there, maybe you're knowing a little bit more now, where's feeling tight. You can also kind of go a little bit more into the back of the shoulder there. Then we're using STR. So you're pressing in either with your fingers or with a thumb, whatever feels best, but you're using your right hand, pressing in, drawing the tissue down slightly towards this left shoulder tip, so away from the head. And then you're going to take your head to look over to the right and then down towards the ground. And as you do that, you'll notice you start to get a stretch in that area. And then back to center and releasing. So you're doing that with any points along there that feel good. So you're pressing down towards the left shoulder tip, looking over to the right, and then looking down at the ground. So this is honestly, out of all of the upper body work, this is probably my one that I go to all the time. It's so good if you get tight shoulders and tight neck. And it's something that I teach a lot of my massage clients as well, because it's just so easy to do. It's very difficult to massage your own back and your own shoulders, but this is something you can do, and it just feels great. So staying with this for as long as you want. You can carry on doing little kind of feeling around. You can stay with this soft tissue release. And you can get right down towards the tip of the shoulder if it's feeling tighter down there. Like I said, you can move, you know, you can be completely on the top of the shoulder, or you can just be slightly towards the back. And you'll notice that as you're moving your head, where gives you that best stretch. So feel free to kind of adjust the angle slightly so that you're getting that stretch. And after every time that you've done your little stretch, then you're releasing the point and you're coming back to center. So you don't need to stay in that for a long time. And then coming over to the other side when you're ready. So again, feel free to pause if you want to stay here for a bit longer if that left shoulder is really troublesome. So coming onto the right side, you're using your left hand now, starting off with that exploring. So starting right from the very kind of tip of the shoulder here, getting into any areas where you can feel that there are kind of tight areas of muscle, of tissue. Again, you're not massaging bone. It can feel sometimes like bone along here when it gets really tight. So you might notice there are bits that feel really knotty, like you've got a bag of marbles under there. So if you're feeling that, then I totally understand what's going on. So really allowing yourself to notice where are the points where you feel the most tight, what does it feel like? And again, if you find something that's really sore, you can stay there and hold it for a few seconds if you want, 10, 20, 30 seconds. You know, sometimes that can feel really good to just sit with that place. You can close your eyes. Or you can carry on with the kind of exploratory movements, doing sort of circles, doing friction. So allow yourself to be open to observing what's going on. And again, move in a way that feels good for your body. So you can go as deep as feels good, staying in places that you need to. And whenever you're ready, you're welcome to try that STR technique. So going back to those places that you know felt the most tight as you were sort of exploring up and down the side, the top of the shoulder there. You're pressing in with, I use the fingertips, but it's up to you, whatever you feel that you get the best sort of depth with. You're drawing the tissue just slightly down towards the tip of that shoulder. So it's just a feeling of pressing in and away. Taking your head over to the left, and then bringing your gaze down to the ground. And then repeating that on any places that feel good. So spending a little bit of time here. And then giving those shoulders a little shake. How does that feel? Maybe there are some tender spots. Maybe you feel like you've got a little bit more space in there. The other way we can use that STR technique, you need to be really careful, is on the back of the neck. So you've obviously got your vertebrae running down the back. You don't want to be anywhere near those at all. So we're talking about moving a good inch away from your vertebrae, so you don't want to be pressing in on that. But if you are tight on the back of the shoulders and the neck, you can press in on the back, so you might want to press in with fingers like this. You can draw the tissue downwards towards your tailbone, and then you can bring the head down. But again, you're not working anywhere near the spine here, so you're keeping well away from the spine, but it's just a different way to kind of loosen up the muscles if you feel that you need to have that kind of forward stretching motion. So you can work up here, it's kind of like the center of the shoulders and the base of the neck. So you can work into all of that bit. and then having a little release. So hopefully that's provided a little bit of openness through that part of the body. Let's go up into the jaw now, often a place that holds a lot of tension. So you may want to do one side at a time, or you might want to do both sides together. But working around the jaw, and again, doing that exploratory movement first of all. Now, jaws can feel really tender. They can hold a huge amount of tension. If you find somewhere that feels particularly tight, what you might like to do is press in on that tight area and then open and close the jaw. Now, doing that will feel quite sore if your jaw is really tight, but it's a really good way of releasing a little bit of the tension that's in the jaw. You probably won't want to stay here for really long, but pressing in on any of those areas that feel tight along there, and once you found a tight spot, opening the jaw and then closing the jaw. So giving yourself a few minutes to have a little feel into the left side and the right side. And again, this is something that you can come back to at any time. So if you know that you're prone to getting a tight jaw, then feel free to include this into your daily routine. It doesn't take long, but it feels really good. And incidentally, if you've got a partner who you can sometimes ask for a massage, maybe they give you a little shoulder squeeze every now and again. Adding in a little bit of jaw massage from them will probably feel really nice. Again, it's tender, so you won't want to spend ages here, but it can be really good just to have somebody loosen that up for you. So it can look a bit silly doing this, but luckily it's a recorded session, so nobody knows. But you can have a laugh at me doing it if you want. So that's a great way to just provide a little bit of looseness through the jaw. If you know you're really prone to getting a tight jaw, then whenever you remember during the day, just focusing on allowing the jaw to open and release slightly. Of course, you'll forget, throughout the day. But if you do remember, just taking that moment when you remember to let go, because even in those moments, that's really helpful for the body. So do stay on the jaw a little bit longer if that feels good. Otherwise, we're going to move back to the base of the head, so the occipital. So you'll notice that you can feel with your fingers kind of almost like the line of the base of the skull. So you can use your thumbs to come in from by the ears and come underneath. And you can go either way. You can kind of go from the outside in or the inside out. Again, being really careful of the spine. And this is another place that holds a huge amount of tension. Particularly you get into this bit close to the ear, so the very kind of edge of the outside of the line of the base of the skull. You might want to do one side at a time. This bit's quite tender, so you'll be able to kind of feel around. It's just behind the ear, and you'll know when you've got it because it's quite a sore spot. And what you might want to do here is either take some little circles, or you might want to press and just hold. And the reason why this gets so tight, when we were talking about the belly of the muscle not holding as much tension as the attachment points, well, this area at the base of the skull here is where a lot of the neck and the shoulder muscles attach. So if you think you've got all of these muscles coming up here and attaching, and these are muscles that are working hard because heads are pretty heavy, and they're balancing on this little neck. And actually, if you're not in perfect alignment, that's quite a lot of weight for these muscles to be supporting if the head's coming forward or to the side. So these attachment points get really, really tight and they work very, very hard. So spending a little bit of time getting in there will really help if you're experiencing neck, shoulder pain, jaw pain, anything like that. So having a little feel around, you'll manage to find it if you just have a gentle explore, and you can use your fingertips or your thumb here, whatever feels best. I'm using my fingertips. And then you might want to try the other side if you haven't already, and again noticing which side might feel tighter than the other. If you decide to press and hold here, this is a technique called neuromuscular technique, when you press and hold for quite a long period of time. And you can do that anywhere on the body, like we've been talking about, that feels tight. And if you're going to do this anywhere, I'd suggest that you really work with your breath. Maybe you close your eyes. It helps when you're in discomfort to use the breath to release. You might even want to visualize the muscle fibers kind of moving apart and creating space. So taking as long as feels good here. And then we're going to finish today with some work around the head. So a little bit of self-head massage, which is lovely. So be prepared for your hair to get messy here. So if you're like me and you've got your hair tied up, you might want to bring your hair down. And then you're kind of imagining you've got your hands nice and spread wide, the fingertips. You can use I'd have your thumbs sort of at the base, so you can get into the base of the skull. And then you're just taking a really kind of gentle and slow movement, and then going deeper if it feels good. So working all around from that sort of tight bit around the occipital, which we were talking about. You can stay there for a little bit longer. You can bring your thumbs up and around the sides of the ears. You can get into the front of the head with the fingertips. And maybe you want to close your eyes here. So particular attention staying in the base of the skull there. And loosening up all of the attachment points that come into this part of the body. So you'll notice that there may be sore and tender points around the back and the sides of the head. There are attachment points all around there. And you can go to just using one hand if you want. You can use both. Really exploring, getting into all of the different parts of the head. This is great if you tend to get tension headaches, migraines, insomnia. And doing that for as long as feels good. To finish, bringing the palms of your hands onto each eye, closing in a little bit of darkness for a couple of breaths. Deep inhale, filling up the upper body. Exhaling, sigh through the mouth. One more time, inhaling, filling the body. Exhaling through the mouth, releasing the hands. And breathing into all of those new spaces that you've created with your self-massage. How does it feel to be inside your body now? How do those areas of tension feel? Does your body feel more open? allowing yourself a few moments to experience any differences that are going on for you. And stay here for as long as feels good. Go back to any parts of this tutorial that felt good. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that's felt really wonderful, and look forward to seeing you again soon.